Not the clouds. Not the clouds. Yep. The book I read. I am Lizzie Sampson, and I'm honored to be nominated as one of the character artists. I first want to thank Megan Denise for mentoring me as one of the recruiting interns and showing me the challenges and triumphs of planning important events each semester, such as Happy Melee Program, Retreat, and working alongside them for the past 2 semesters has not only given me an appreciation for what goes on behind the scenes, but also the confidence to hopefully use my skills gained in my current position to plan these events in the future if given the opportunity. I would also like to thank Thea and Eunice for enriching my knowledge in our culture and getting to work with them on ideas for everyone's favorite Marie Tessels and Tagalog table as one of their interns next semester, along with the intern like Josh. Being an intern for 2 positions this semester, although my first thought has been such a special experience for me because I got to see a new side to team that made me realize how I love this organization. I joined fall of my freshman year, hoping to find a president after moving across the country from what I call. In all honesty, I was a bit intimidated after the first 2 meetings that I stopped going altogether. It wasn't until I went to the first TV tailgate and got to talk to some general members, e-boarders, and Megan who assumed UII. I felt so included and truly happy that these people who I thought were once strangers brought me in with open arms. After getting over my fractional fears of 100 Filipinos in one space, I went back and tried to soak in who got enjoyed. Whether it was on TV Thursdays, random meetups at the reading back after months to someone I saw at a previous event. Needless to say, this club helped me in so many other ways by the traditional support system here. As a cultural organization and an institution that may not always reflect our cultural backgrounds, we hold a great responsibility to provide a safe space to its members to take pride in the Filipino culture and increase awareness of. Creating a safe space means more than just words. It requires actions. It means actively listening to one another, amplifying marginalized voices, and standing up to any form of discrimination. It means recognizing our own privileges and giving them to others. Finally, it means occupying our space in a way that is respectful and considerate of those around us. In order to do this, it starts with the leaders of teams to set the tone of the school year. As equals, the organization looks to them as models and relies on them to create a safe space that members get excited to come to each semester. And if the opportunity, I hope to do just that. I will continue to educate myself on the importance of cultures and the multitude of them that make up our community. I will also listen to fellow members and gain feedback from what they feel is needed at team. An event that I'd love to spearhead is programming with my team service. I've been an active member of my service organization, Alpha Phi Omega, and even served as a chair this semester. So I feel prepared to collaborate with service organizations around the LGBT, as well as members on board to coordinate work. I think this would be a great way to build on the past service event, support the advocacy chairs. That program would be helpful. As programming director, the duties extend far beyond governance, coordination, and they encompass a vision of Troy Philippines as a place of activity, creativity, and connection. From all our events, as mentioned before, I'm dedicated to ensuring every aspect of our programming reflects the diverse interests and passions of our community. But beyond logistics and checklists, there lies a deeper purpose, one that is rooted in our commitment to fostering a space that everyone feels respected and valued. It is essential we remember that Troy Philippines is not just a club, but a family bound together for the love and for the culture. From
I have questions for you. So first question, how do you plan on mitigating any conflicts with your co-position, like co-program director? And who will you go to when problems arise?
First, I just see if, this is like a like specific thing that I've been doing. It's like, being like, if it is something like that where it seems like there's an issue. With what will be, present. Like, we just to like, see if there's anything that we can do to like fix the issue and, like try to get to. Like,
And then another question, how are you going to tackle the problems of clique cultures between the fans in the company?
I would try to make sure that, obviously, I would, emphasize. For everyone's like being like welcome once they first join the organization. I think it's also important to know that like before I know like about it throughout it's like pretty good to like do different mixes of like I have like of like specific lines. Like really pretty good to like have like either dinner to just like hangouts after meetings like
Then your next question is, what is your course of action if a general member is unsatisfied with their audience or big?
oh I would make sure to like have a meeting separately with the little just to see like what their concerns are and then I would have a stuff and then another meeting with the big just to see like where those issues are and take all those into account and then together in a safe environment as well as well.
And then your last question is, how will you handle the transition from being a teacher to
I would definitely just take all the skills that I gained but also I wouldn't be afraid to like reach out to them, especially if it is like transition, but it is one that I use.
Thank you. Yeah.
Those of you that don't know, I'm currently serving as human directors of cultural media. So I'm running for programming this year because in these years, I feel like a lot of the events for programming have really impacted how I view Troy Live. And it's allowed me to kind of build this community here and build like a family and personally like a second. So I want to be able to plan the programs for future general members as well and allow them to have the same experience at Troy Flag and allow them to build that community as well. As a program director, that I would really focus on improving is increasing member retention. I feel like a lot of the times, especially in the past few years, member retention is something we have to deal with. And I know a big part of that is struggling to build those relationships with littles are also inactive sometimes. They don't get those presentations as often as they should. So even something as simple as this, just walking down while you're going to class and inviting them to one of our events, like hey, you're going to the general meeting tonight. Sometimes that's the difference between them showing up and not showing up. And it's something that's so simple like that. That can change that retention. That I also encourage is encouraging families to invite their families to the group chats and be involved. Because a lot of the times I notice is that family like distanced from their families in group chats, as they should. So for the director, I would try to encourage them to be more active in those group chats and to like events and like share meetings and stuff. Another thing that I would want to focus on that I think would really help build these relationships is solidifying interrelationship intramural teams. I know this is something that we've been doing a lot this past semester, but they haven't, there's not really a structure to it. We kind of just invited people down here. So I want to encourage more people to join those teams because I personally felt like I gained a lot of things through that, especially like friendships, even on sports teams that I've never keep soccer ball in my life. And I love the intramural team for soccer. And I've never like played the basketball game and I learned so much through that experience. And I was able to bond with some these friendships. It's things like that and also Detroit. And I think I would want to implement to the relationships is adding a something similar to the treating have this right, but involved. Because I think it's also important to start building those relationships early on, and not necessarily just at the very end start to get comfortable with each other. But I know that budget is a big issue, most likely will be regardless. So I was thinking something more of like fire, like expanding on that in order to make it also thing. We have a hiking and then we go to like a park and grill, you know, like burgers and get to know each other more and choose the beach and other one. So we kind of have this full day with each other to bond, um, and allow us to grow those relationships that keep us coming back. Because for me, I keep coming back. And it's good to have like the events we do and to have the quizzes and the games. But the one thing that keeps me coming back to try every week and to every event is you guys. I really enjoy like seeing all the faces and being able to talk to you and hang out and to every week. And that's something that I want to build for future generations as well. Early on. I would love to talk more. I just spend some time so I can open up.
First question, how will you ensure that the board interns and leadership do not contribute to the clique culture while also facilitating the formation of bonds and joint?
That's a good question. I feel like clique culture is talked about a lot. And I think it's normal to have like, but it's really the culture behind it and how you interact with everyone in general that causes the issues. For me, I like to lead by example. So I personally love talking to people. I love interacting, getting to know people, and like I said, the relationship and that's what keeps me coming back. I don't want to just focus on the same time. I'd love to expand because you never know what you can learn from other people. And I would love to encourage other people members, especially, to have that same culture and have that same motivation and drive to be intentional with your conversations with people, to be intentional with getting to know the members of the club. Because at the end of the day, those are the members who make that's the reason why we're both because we're trying to really work in. So it's really important to know them and to build those relationships.
My next question is, how do you plan everything when you put up a position? As you see, next year you're elected.
In DC, there was actually a lot of very talented, and I know that, yeah, we'll also have to deal with a lot of the similar stresses with banquet, retreat, assassins, all that happening on the sea ring, like, and I feel like it was really helpful to have like a person and foremost to help me with the events. But I think that also prepared me for it because I was able to handle that stress in this one efficiently and help me manage my time really well. I think it's also for the pop-up program in culture, we have to interact with a lot of different people and that helped me learn enjoy it. It did enjoy it. So yeah, building the relationships will also I think help me in forming the related program and in the future.
interact with in my studies. I love business. So, if I can sum up Troy by, I guess my Troy by experience, what my Troy I think Troy by is strong. Troy by has become second home for many people. People say, like they say, home is for the hearts. For me, I find my heart. The hearts, the biggest joy. Here, it's like 9 in PCN. It's like still small like this. Hearts. I found truly. Oh my. And I felt so. This is why I want to run for next year's co-program chair, because I want everyone to try out, not just my friends, not just my friends, everyone to feel it. I worked on this intern semester, internship semester, served as Scott's intern, essential intern last semester. Thank you, Scott, for having me. And I even had the privilege to work with looking to come this year. As such a long number of people, especially years, I felt the love and culture that's provides. Being programs I have in particular. One of the things UCLA's members said when they came to PCF last year, they astounded by how little. And that gave me, my mom told me that, and I was just like, yeah, I see that. I see it all the time. Sometimes when I'm asleep, there are times when I'm 8 times. And I think that it's people like this year, last year, anytime. And the feeling that. So, as chair, I want to post an event saying, of course, I can say this without giving you guys qualifications and credentials. So I was able to help the co-pro set up the call for I took my apps and I was able to get to the people, see what they're on. Additionally, I offered my help at retreat. If you guys remember last year or something, freshman, it was named TPCon. We were going to name that because for the planning process for all the retreat, we were going to have it at a hotel and kind of like have like a YouTube convention or something. It didn't work. I don't think it's the best fit, but yes, I think I offer a lot of this. I'll tell you more about that. Scott's intern was able to provide some help whilst strong to the community. During the Israel side issues, especially in keyboard, the idea of town halls, to hear how members feel, give them space, in which their grievances, be their voice into right? So oftentimes there's sometimes there might be a disconnect. I think that's important. You always have members to tell Ebor how they feel, so that Ebor can understand they're serving their members. I'm going to advocate for safe spaces and try to more about what we do. So being active cultural course, I was able to MC multiple events. That's like this ago, which I held here last January. I was able to the ACM training partner $1,000 in funds. But of course, the venue was just $1,000 and it's $4,000 budget. And good job since the virtual training doing that. Creating basic events. Still transition because so many things are visions here. It's Carmel Chelsea's musical, Texas, like special organizations now and FFC that bring the table back, of course, official organization to express themselves as peers on the stage. So I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to stand and see use directors how to offer it. So how can we find inclusive, safe space? Well, this year's Coco's did a great job fostering community. How treat so far no success of the banquet. These past 2 years, how has we helped some people to meet it's like little heights of games, with your body. So these are people that you love to get close with to kind of lead into fresh games. They see a lot of competition. So like when we have opportunities, so we should get to have all of the friends who work on like certain similar things. Just one way to yes. We all schedule for programs but because there's so much stuff that we to explore. Go up with pigs, go better, just feel stronger to learn together. Thank you very much. As always, for the love of so much time.
Okay. COPPA is usually one of the biggest events in the fall semester and spring, but what is your course of action if there's lower retention after COPPA?
If there's lower retention at the COPPA meals, I'd like to stay in touch with parents. I think that's a great resource for parents and someone that perhaps do maybe listen to me to like, oh, times like because walk is so big. That's why I also like to focus on lines, being big, middle, straggles. I'll say G line is just since I'm saying about 50 in a year. Yeah, we have 2 years. So I do want to keep attention through comments and comments. Thank you, Michael.
Inspired me today. And really didn't need to be nominated for your institutional vice president. My name is Kate Franks. Most of you guys know me as Kate. The person who sent me so internal vice president has been a position that I have been passionate about ever since I joined leadership all my freshman year. Before coming to USD, I never thought about joining a Filipino org college after having a bad experience with the one I had back home. It wasn't until after orientation, when I was touring my freshman year dorm, with my closest friends in Ethan, who would show me the short path. At first, I was skeptical of the thought of joining, but little did I know it would be one of the most significant decisions of my college career. Fast forward to the start of my freshman fall semester, I was able to step into my first year. At this meeting, it felt like a share. I didn't know what to expect as I was anxious about still transitioning to college, but I was able to meet so many people and feel welcome. Trinify didn't just feel like an organization, but a place where I could be myself. At this time, I wanted to join a leadership program, and it was a decision I made. During the leadership meetings, someone introduced us to a presentation about the driving forces in everything we do, called My Why. At this time, I was seeking imposter syndrome, and was about to submit my transfer application. But during the presentation, helped me realize why I decided to do this. And it's something I look at till this day to remind myself how important I can. Having this experience inspired me to be here today, and to be your internal vice president. Leadership helped me express myself, and I had the opportunity to join again for the spring semester, and intern for IBP last semester, where I was able to see leadership grow and be in. With that being said, I want to give back to the program that's helped me shape my college experience throughout my first 3 semesters here at UC. During my time at leadership, I had the opportunity to work with 3 different companies. I was able to the planning and organization of 2 holiday jams, 1 night, and seeing the Troy Philippines history timeline grow from just an idea to soon being able to visualize it on the website as secretary. I was able to lead a leadership meeting unexpectedly during my intern semester, being able to shadow Jane and getting first-hand experience of what it means to be internal vice president.
If you don't know, Trifecta is taking its 50th anniversary next year. In the position of IVP, I am committed to honoring our history while being able to drive the next generation of leadership to be able to explore their cultural identity, discover their why, and engage in meaningful experiences both with and outside the organization. As IVP, I want to help these Mexicans grow and learn about their culture, but also have a space to express themselves and explore themselves to further improve their experience here at USC and getting to learn the internal workings of short. I want to work with all e-board members for the corner to foster these relationships with their e-board to build a community and an open learning environment. Set at leadership meetings and encouraging coffee chats to help leadership grow their passion. I want to be the bridge that brings our general members and e-boarders together, with getting members' inputs about events and general meetings to bring up during e-board meetings. I want members to know that I don't want to be seen as someone who is on board, someone to talk to and approach at any time. I'm willing to listen no matter what the issue is, or even if you want to tell someone about something good that happened during your day. As an MVP, an important position is knowing how to handle and mediate conflict. Being a public relations major, I've learned how to deal with risk and how to approach and communicate conflict, learning firsthand by other organizations. I am open-minded to all perspectives, aiming to see where they are coming from. I bring my own values and principles aside to biases so that we can come to an agreement and plan how to move. Triplet has taught me many things, like how to be an older sister, a mentor, figured out my I'm still able to be here today speaking to you, to all of you guys. With all the love that Triplet has for me, I want to be able to foster a safe space for everyone. Thank you.
First question, as IVP, you mentioned fostering relationships with general members and creating an open learning environment. What are some ways you want to do this?
Yeah, so if you were some students, you would know that we would have a housing report form. I feel like that's a good way for people to be able to put their input for events, but also how they feel in general. I feel like for this forum, I don't want it to just be as something that people could just grant to, but also an open-ended forum for people to put what ideas they want to see in Troy 5, but also come to me if they ever need anything, even though like just like anything in general.
Thank you. And then second question, what are some changes you want to implement to improve the leadership?
Yeah, so something I want to do is that while we're interviewing people for leadership, something I want to focus on, even though we are able to help leadership grow culturally and professionally, I want them to also explore their passions as well. The question I'm going to ask is, what are their hobbies and what do they want coming out of USC? Since most of the times people who join leadership are either transfers or freshmen, people want to get more involved with Troy 5. So with that being said, when we have our first leadership meeting, I want to provide them with resources that could help them further on their USC experience, as well as stuff they could go to in order to further their experience in Troy 5 as well.
Thank you. Next question. How would you respond to conflicting perspectives during the board meeting while ensuring the discussion is civil?
Yeah, so I'm able to experience dealing with conflict within an e-board through my other board. With this, I've been able to keep a natural stance, and I'm also an active listener to both perspectives. I try and analyze what is going on in all sides of what is of the conflict. And since again, I'm a public relations major, we're able to learn how to manage conflict through 4 steps, which is communication, active listening, and learning to review different options and solutions that can benefit anyone. That is that when we're ending it off, it should be ended off with like a solution or a plan that can move forward afterwards, and also check up with the progress of if the situation is handled correctly or not.
Thank you. And last question. How will you improve office hours next year if you were to be active?
So with office hours next year, of course, I'll be working with my development chair as well. I want to be able to bring in basically like some people like alumni, especially since 50th anniversary is reaching into for people to have that experience of like if you want to talk to them, if they want to further their passions. And something I want to do too is make it an environment where people are able to like come talk to me and like the development chair as well, and just make it a safe space. And even though it's something where who are able to like lock in and all that, I want them to know that if they're having a hard day or anything, it should be a place where people are able to come to at the end of the day to feel welcome and safe. Thank you.
I'm Josh Nicholas. I'm ready to serve as Troy Philippines' next internal vice president. Thank you to those that nominated me. Thank you to those that came today. For those of you who may not know me, allow me to introduce myself. It's Josh. I'm a first year studying neuroscience. I'm from Hacienda Heights, about 25 months away. So far, I know. So close to campus. I did not have a community to jump in Hispanic school, so I did not know what Filipino true concept of family. And just as my mom would always tell me, why not or take care of your own life? You know, at the time, I never really understood. See, for the first time, I really was on my own. I was independent, but scared, anxious, overwhelmed, having imposter syndrome, you name it. Felt everything possible that all new students experience. That was until I found you. Instantly, all of those negative feelings that I felt before went away with Christianity. Meeting my first TV. See, coming up to me and thinking, this guy looks exactly like my pizza. I remember at the units shouting at Kehlani, that's my best friend during keyboard intros. And as rambunctious and boisterous as it all was, I knew that from that day on, Troy 5 was truly my home away from home. It became a place where I could learn about my culture, a place where I could finally find my Filipino community. As your IVP, my mission will be to emulate that same sense of belonging, sense of community that I felt when I first got here for both incoming and returning members. One way that I plan to accomplish that is by strengthening connections to our leadership home. Not many of our general members, or e-boarders for that matter, know who our leadership agents are until the holiday GM or the night, or in other words, when it's too late. When it comes to ideas, culturally, I plan to act my why and culture presentations created by our leadership team by extending such presentations outside of the cohort for the rest of our members to admire, by having them speak at GMs, either through reintroducing word of the week or leading opening activities that can, one, be more involved, and two, help everyone else get to know each other. Additionally, I wish to continue co-hosting Office Hours with the Director of Development as provides another safe space for our members and their friends to relax. If you know me, you know that I'm a die-hard foodie. I believe that food and media are the best ways to a person's heart. On top of Office Hours, with more interactive activities such as a Troy platform, members have even more ways to contribute to social lives. These are just some of the many ideas I have. Be satisfied as any job is able to walk into any GM and know the face of every single face, the name of every single face in the room. Good morning. I also cannot deliver this speech without acknowledging the adversity that Troy 5 has faced this past year. As IVP, I am confident in my ability to resolve interpersonal conflict without bias, and instead with candor, formality. Accepting the position also means committing to fostering a culture of respect, transparency, and inclusivity within the organization. I will work tirelessly to ensure that every member's voice is heard, whether it be through bringing back How's Your Heart or developing new anonymous forms. Last but not least, I must address one of your probably biggest concerns, the fact that I'm a young candidate, first year running for IVP. While this may concern you, rest assured, I assure you that involvement in the executive board and positions of leadership are not something new to myself. I was involved in the leadership cohort for Fall 23, and I'm currently a double intern for both programming directors and directors of cultural engagement. I've seen the planning behind the scenes, like any board meetings when Scott dressed up as Scooby-Doo, and the results produced afterwards, like Kaden getting us those awesome shirts for friendship games. Despite being on the younger side, my diverse experiences as such an active member have provided me with valuable insight into how Troy 5 operates, which I know will aid me in being a capable and efficient leader. Outside of the org, I'm also a student ambassador in the Office of Admissions. More than that, I hold a leadership position as a training coordinator, one of just 4 positions trusted to teach next year's cohort of student ambassadors. I am the first impression for all prospective students who are in USC. Thus, I wish to carry such representation and advocacy into Troy 5. I've been in the same shoes as these new students. I know what it's like to feel this full of emotions, plan to leverage this experience to my leadership by being a comfortable and approachable point of contact. I know that I can effectively represent the organization, drawing upon the skills I have garnered to work productively in a team and bring impactful change. With that being said, I stand before you not just as a candidate for interim vice president, but as a president of each of you. This incredible family. Troy Phi has provided me with a sense of connection and a place to grow. Continuing back by serving as your IVP. I appreciate each and every one of you for your support and taking the time to open your hearts to my vision. Together, I know we can continue to build a community that we can all be proud of. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, everyone.
First question. How will you address any challenges from not being on executive board and taking on the role as IVP after your freshman sophomore?
So I may have not been on the executive board for Troy Phi, but I've been in the executive board for many other organizations. But specifically for pertaining to Troy Phi, I was in leadership cohort. I'm an intern now. I mentioned that earlier. What I did mention, I went to every board meeting last semester. I've seen it firsthand. I know how they run the meeting. I know how everything operates. And just because I'm a first year, I feel like that there's a lot of what people may first perceive me to be, that I don't know how things run, but I really have been seen a lot of scenes both behind what you see at meetings, at keyboard meetings, and on these events outside with by GMs, whether it be games or TV goes. I know how like all of these keyboard positions interact with each other. I understand that I have an intern for IVP, but that's because I'm passionate about the position and I feel like I know how to run this. I chose to apply for these other intern positions so I understand how these other positions as opposed to so I probably interact with this.
You mentioned adversities in your speech. How would you go about mitigating risk within the organization?
Okay. I think especially if especially to or even multiple parties, I believe it's important to first bring down the root of the cause. It's important to be once again, I saw a lot of this happening with our residents. I think they did a really good job at a lot of the things that Troy has faced this year. I feel like you achieved individually. I will continue this. I will be second each party together. We can hopefully make that balance, reach the middle ground, and then from the on, I'm going to continue to closely monitor to handle that there aren't any residual issues. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I stand before you humbled and honored to have been nominated for the treasurer position. My name is Joshua Huico. For those who may not know me that well, I'm a rising junior majoring in computer science games with a minor in web development. I'm part of Troy Phi since my freshman year, and I'm excited about the prospects of serving the community in this capacity. Before I delve into my vision for the role, let me share a little bit about myself. You may have seen me around, whether in person or the Troy Phi Discord channel, indulging in my daily ritual, a large-sized cup of Dulce's iced berry matcha latte. Now, you might wonder why I bring this up in a formal speech, the treasurer position. Some might view this as a mere personal preference, but I see it as more than that. It serves as a unique identifier, yes, but it also symbolizes my perspective on budgeting and financial management. Consider this. Each purchase of my beloved blueberry matcha represents a transaction, a decision point where I weigh the value against the cost. Similarly, as treasurer, I aim to apply this strange yet meticulous approach to every financial decision Troy Phi makes. Take, for instance, our recent Troy Phi GM retreat, which costed $80, equivalent to approximately 12 large iced berry matcha lattes. For context, a single large blueberry matcha costs $6.50. My decision to attend was informed by this very calculus, balancing the value of the experience against its price, also known as the opportunity cost. This mindset will guide my stewardship of Troy Phi's finances, ensuring that every expenditure is justified and aligned with our collective goals. Moving forward, I envision a treasurer role that not only maintains financial accounts, but also fosters creativity and engagement. I propose collaborating with general members to design merchandise that not only reflects our identity, but also resonates with everyone's wardrobes. From stickers to apparel, my aim is to support artists within TP while creating everyday wear merchandise and fostering a sense of pride among our members. Furthermore, I advocate for early planning of fundraisers and social events. By spearheading a kickball tournament or karaoke nights, we can strengthen our bond as a tight-knit family. Or by spearheading collaborations with other schools and Filipino-owned businesses, we can broaden our reach and maximize our fundraising potential. But it's not just about raising funds. It's also about making membership more financially accessible. I aim to decrease dues by an entire two-beer matcha latte. That is $6.50, making it easier for everyone to participate. And just as I've developed skills in computer science, I'll utilize my expertise to streamline payment processes, offering more flexible options such as different kinds of dues packages for our members. Drawing from my background in CS and even from my background as a secretary intern for K this semester, I'm well equipped to handle data organization and manipulation, essential skills for managing third-party finances effectively. Moreover, my experience as an academic culture assemblies communication intern, Fall 2023 leadership intern, and PACE intern has provided me with invaluable insights into the logistical and financial aspects of event planning. For example, even though I worked alongside my fellow PACE interns this semester, I was a primary spearhead for this year's Troy Pie. Whether it was creating and updating the Troy Pie spreadsheet Google Forms, buying and storing the whipped cream in my apartment, or reaching out to Nicole to schedule a meeting to flesh out the logistics, I primarily took the initiative with fundraising. Moreover, as Nicole has done this year, I'm committed to working very closely with the PACE directors and interns to ensure adequate funding for PACF and PACN and its performers. My journey with the Troy Pie has been one of personal growth and culture reconnection. From an inactive member to a dedicated intern, I'm into Kuya and whitewash Malaysian, emphasis on the W, to proud Filipino. I've embraced my Filipino heritage with dignity and compassion. This year's PACN theme, Kasi Bulan, has especially resonated with me as it symbolizes growth and transformation, a journey mirrored my own experience as a member. Just as each sip of blueberry matcha reminds me of my roots, I'm committed to stewarding our finances with care and dedication. Thank you for considering me for the role of treasurer. Together, let's make Troy Pie's future as vibrant and fulfilling as a sip of Dulce's Ice Blueberry Matcha Latte. For the love and for the culture, Joshua Bingham.
First question, what are some new ideas do you have for the treasurer position?
So one of my primary new ideas and new initiatives I want to create is dues packages. It's mainly inspired by my line because my big Shell and my little Alyssa, they don't regularly attend parties nor consume pizza at the parties, if you understand the euphemism for pizza. And so I want other general members that are similar to them to get the true value of their dues. And so some packages that I wanted to create were one, you go to socials and you consume pizza, or two, you go to socials but you don't consume pizza, or three, just like you just don't go to like any of the pizza involved socials. And so these packages are obviously just like current ideas or ideas that I have. And so I'd love to discuss alternative options with the board if I am elected. And I also want to create a program, like a way you can do payment plans like just on like the Troy Pie website, so you don't have to reach out to the treasurer directly. Because when I first wanted to do like a payment plan for my dues, because it was kind of expensive, I was a little intimidated at first, and it is kind of intimidating to reach out to the treasurer directly. So I want to create a program where you can do this kind of like quote unquote anonymously without having to speak to the treasurer.
Thank you. Next question, what would your approach be in the case that we are in debt? How would you make up for the deficit if you were to decrease the dues?
So I actually created like a 7-step plan in the case of a debt. And so the first stage would be to review the current budget and what funds we do have. And then from the budget we do have, I would develop a debt repayment plan. And I would reduce expenses for the upcoming events accordingly. Like not all upcoming events, just more so the ones that are like near, like in the future, like very near the future. And then I would obviously increase fundraising efforts, whether that be with like TP Tambay or just like new merch. And then I would communicate to board the situation of the debt we're in. And then I would revise the payment plan that I've drafted with board. And from there, we would implement the plan and eventually monitor the effectiveness of this plan.
Thank you.
So, hello, everyone. My name is David Yan, and I'm running to be the next treasurer of Troy Philippines for this upcoming year. I want to thank all of you guys for coming and listening to our speeches, and help decide the future of Troy. That I can convince you why I'm a great fit as your treasurer. First and foremost, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm currently a junior here at C, but I transferred this past year from Los Angeles Bulletin. In my past school, I had the honor of serving as the treasurer of the club. It's called Students Against Destructive Decisions. And during this time, I gained valuable experiences managing dues, creating fundraisers, budgeting funds for events, which is very similar to what we do here at Troy Fund. I also had the opportunity to be an intern for our current treasurer, Cole, who's done a great job. As an intern, I gained experience sending out a lot of emails and reaching out to local Filipino companies, asking for sponsorships for PACM. I was also able to sort out the information we shipped out, as well as create Google Forms to make communication more efficient. Another reason I'm qualified to be a treasurer is my experience with Microsoft Excel. I love staying organized with Excel, and besides using it as a treasurer, I use it a lot in my daily life, tracking my volunteer hours or keeping track of my grades in my classes. This means that I will confidently be able to create spreadsheets to organize Troy funds, create budgets for our events, and keep track of who needs to be used. Having these experiences sets me up with the skills needed by a treasurer to make sure there are always funds available whenever needed. But beyond my experience, I'm ready to be your next treasurer because I have a vision for a more financially accessible Troy Fly. Personally, I love Troy Fly, not only because I love my Filipino culture, but also because I love all the bonding experiences that this organization has to offer. These experiences have allowed me to meet new friends and build connections with people I was probably never talked to. But I know sometimes these bonding experiences, like friendship games, retreat, or banquet, be pretty expensive, which is why I want to implement a few ideas to try and bring down membership dues and the cost of our events. First, I'm going to do even more fundraisers. I know we just had a Chipotle fundraiser, and I'm going to continue doing more fundraisers throughout the year. I'm thinking of possibly announcing one each month, have the fundraiser of the month, and announce it to GMs to share with all of their friends. I also want to work with other restaurants other than Chipotle, like Chick-fil-A, Subway, Panda Express, etc. Also, I want to do more TV tambay. I think Nicole did a great job with TV tambay this year, so I definitely want to continue in her footsteps and possibly try to do it more often with different foods or foods that everybody enjoys. Of course, I want to keep selling delicious Filipino foods, bunch of fun, but I also want to sell more general foods like baked cookies or brownies, so we can reach a wider audience. People who might be scared of Filipino food for some reason. I also want to do merch. I already have designs and lines for hoodies and t-shirts. I also want to branch out to other kinds of merchandise, like bring back the tote bag, implement water bottles or keychains. Also, for hoodies and shirts, I want to explore the idea of having multiple designs and colors so people have more options to choose whatever suits their style. Also, another idea I have is creating more fun for the basic events throughout the year, possibly by partnering with other e-boarders. I think similar events to Troy Pong or Troy Pie could be a really fun way to make more money. And affordable events like hosting marathon runs or 2v2 basketball tournaments or any kind of tournament with a cash prize can be a great way to raise money while bonding with friends. I also want to stress opening up these events to people outside of Troy Fly so that we are not only burdening our own members to help us raise money. I was also thinking we could have a weekly or monthly raffle at meetings with like a $20 gift card or something similar. People could spend like $1 or $2 to buy a ticket and have a chance to win a prize. And one of these ideas. Another thing I want to discuss is that I know that sometimes it can be intimidating to go up to an e-board member that you don't know and say, "Hey, I'm Luke." So I want to implement a link to a platform, Instagram Linktree or Upstate to give members an easier, less direct way to discuss financial issues. I want to keep this form open throughout the year, so when events like retreat or banquet are announced, people can easily contact me for financial help or to set up payment plans. Finally, if you'd like me to become Troy Fly's treasurer, I want to be more transparent and where your dues are going. I want to continue providing monthly reports on where everyone is at and discuss our budgets during the board meetings. Not only do I want to be more transparent with the board, I also want to be more transparent with our general members. During announcements at general meetings, I want to create like, visuals or graphs displaying how much money we raise after certain fundraisers or socials. And we implement some sort of like goal system. Every time, every time we reach a goal, the cost of the event goes down like 10%, something like that. Not only does this celebrate the success of the fundraising, it also encourages people to participate in these fundraisers and more importantly, tell their friends about it. During my speech, I want to reiterate how much I love for Philippines. I love the culture, I love the events, and I love, and of course, I love all the people. I would love to have any chance to give back to the club and people that I love so much. And I know that I can help this club by lowering the cost and the barriers to participate in these events. If you elect me as your treasurer, I promise I'll do everything in my power to make Troy 5 and all that it has to offer more financially accessible and attainable for both you and retired members. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. First question, you mentioned that we've done a lot of fundraisers here. How do you think we can increase engagement for our fundraisers in short term?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but having kind of visual during general meetings, seeing how much we raise, setting goals for our general members, how certain rewards connected to those goals can encourage more people to not only participate, but tell their friends so you can help fund that.
Your next question is, what do you foresee as your biggest challenge as treasurer?
The biggest challenge as treasurer is probably just trying to budget all of the events we do, because I know we do a lot of events. I know programming does a lot of events. I sometimes we need funds for the general meetings as well. So just trying to keep all of that ahead of time, try to just plan ahead with the cycle, maybe for budget at certain times and just having cushion to make sure that we're
Thank you, Derek. And PCN is one of our biggest events. You mentioned that you interned for treasurer this year. How successful were you in shots of local companies with PCN funding previously, and how would any improvements that you would make?
honestly, it wasn't that successful, but I think a big part of it was that we started reaching out to companies like very late. I think like I started emailing like the day before, honestly. So I think that we like getting ahead of that and just start emailing earlier, maybe start creating relationships with these local Filipino companies earlier, so they're more willing to help support our PSC.
Thank you, Derek.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Wu, and I'm running to be your next Troy Fight treasurer. I want to say a quick thank you to all of you for coming out today, and I want to say a big thank you to those who nominated me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a sophomore studying industrial system engineering with a minor in I'm also currently one of your PACE directors. Throughout my time as a general member, intern, I developed an immense dedication and love for this club and the community it holds, and I would love to help support Troy-Fi's growth and success as treasurer. My experience as an e-boarder and intern means that I have a good understanding of how TP functions and how our club spends money. As one of your PACN directors this year, I had to balance a lot of moving parts, a ton of deadlines, documents, and communicating with different people and groups about their needs. And through that process, I really honed my organization and communication skills. For example, I have a lot of experience managing and tracking information using spreadsheets and other organizational tools, as well as with problem solving and working with people to ensure everyone's needs are met. These skills, along with my reliability, drive, and deep care for Troy-Fi, that I know would help me succeed as your next treasurer. As someone who's been involved with this work, I also know Troy-Fi can get really expensive. Between dues, banquet, retreat, friendship games, and all the other programming, we can easily get to over $200. And so, as treasurer, I want to ensure that Troy-Fi is not a financial burden to any of our members, and do everything in my power to support members financially. So, I really put a lot of focus early on in the year, or even over the summer, in order to keep dues and other expenses as low as possible. I prioritize fundraising externally to reduce the amount of member reliance that we need to do, and to help promote our club and culture to our. I really want to pursue more sponsorships for our club, especially with Filipino-owned businesses in the Los Angeles area, as well as with other businesses near USC, in order to help increase visibility for these businesses and connect with more LA Filipinos, while also supporting our work and hopefully gaining more benefits from this. As PICS director, I've gained a lot of experience with communicating with external organizations like the Pacific Asian Museum and Trojan Med Services, which would really help me with approaching potential donors and sponsors. Up to PACN received a couple of very generous donations from local organizations despite the very short notice, and so I can only imagine what we can achieve given more time and concentrated effort. I also want to continue and expand upon our other successful external fundraising initiatives. Bias on Troutdale, which I want to do 2 or 3 times a semester. Sharing restaurants in Chipotle, which I want to do more, which I want to do more often. Fundraisers and Troy Pie, which raised over $1,000 this year for PACN. Other fundraising ideas that I have to do bingo boards during Heaven Week, or maybe as a competition between fans or smaller teams to see who could raise the most money, and also selling Jello shots or other snacks during tailgates. I also think it'd be interesting to collaborate with EVP and the rest of ePort to do more joint fundraising with other organizations both in and out of USC. I remember that collaborative social with Tao last year wasn't really popular. I think working with more other orgs to lift each other up, expand our reach offers a lot of opportunity when it comes to fundraising. Specifically, I would love to collaborate with other orgs during PACN season when all the cultural clubs are preparing for their own cultural race that they host, and we can all use this. Outside of fundraising, I would do everything I can to ensure that e-boarders and members have the funds they need. I'm sure to meet with the different e-board teams at the beginning of each semester and periodically as in programming in order to communicate clearly about budgets and fundraising needs. I'm also make sure that we have a solid portion of our money for emergencies so that we're always prepared for extra expenses. First, I want to implement a centralized form to replace committees in order to make this process more streamlined. I want to make it available on Linktree and in the newsletters that will fill it out after the advertising. I also want to send out a snapshot of anticipated TP expenses and things like that so that members can plan for it. In terms of merch, I love what we did with our merch this year, and I'd love to continue offering similar products like sweatshirts, t-shirts, and smaller items like keychains and stickers. In particular, I love how our PACN merch came out, that was Eliana and Race Face Committee, and it was so cool to see that even people who didn't know what PACN was on it. And so I want to continue incorporating cool designs that appeal to people, whether they're into it or not. And so to do that, I want to incorporate more designs that feature elements from like pop culture, similar to what we did with the Jolly Trojan or the stickers. All in all, it's fun ideas that I want to implement if given this opportunity, and find determination and organizational skills, along with all of the support, I think that we can make it all happen. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll be for me as your next speaker.
Thank you, Lily. You mentioned doing fan competitions to raise funds. How will you ensure that this not contribute to clique culture or address smaller fans?
I would say, it doesn't have to be fan related also, because I know some fans aren't always active, so I was thinking just like small teams. So I was thinking it would work like you said, interested deciding teams based on that. So groups of 4 or 5 together, make your own board, just kind of to interact with people.
Thank you. Next question, how would you handle a sudden unexpected expense?
Yeah, so I think that we want to keep a solid like portion of saved for just reasons like that because we do our budget. So I think just having that reserve ready would really help us handle those expenses.
Thank you. How will you incentivize people to pay dues if they have budget restrictions?
Yes, like I said, I think I like a streamlined way to request payment plans, like totally willing to work with people, just kind of listen to them and hear it out. Just encourage them to come to try my meetings, even if they might be intimidated by the cost. I don't want them to be too big. So I really work with them and make sure that funding is not an issue.
Thank you. And next question is, what skills are overlooked but remain important that will lead to a successful treasury?
I think something that space structure is just kind of like communicating with different people and kind of hearing different needs and like how to reconcile that
the needs of Tri Fi. So I think that that's something that is important for treasurer, is you need to really have those communication skills and have conversations. So
Thank you.
Lily, we could bring in all the treasurers.
Why are we here? I mean, why are we here every Thursday at 8 p.m.? Why do we pour so much hard energy time so to all of our facilities here for Troy 5? And why are we here listening to 16 candidates for the better part of 3 hours when it's finals in a couple weeks? We are here for the community. Steve Winter will serve as this community's next external vice president. I've had the absolute pleasure of being one of your social reserves this year. My fantastic co-Kaylani and I wanted people to have a great time with the plurality of events such as Beach Day, TV Goes Women's Basketball, Dollar Hits, and the upcoming Sunset Bonfire. Safety was at the forefront of every single event we ran, having those precautionary systems in place, being cognizant during, and assessing and doing what is necessary afterwards. Furthermore, I've worked extensively with our current EVP, assisting communities from his own events to friendship games, giving me a profound comprehension of his responsibilities. As past EVPs have said, social chair is kind of like the trial run right before EVP. Friendship games for many of us is one of the most memorable experiences, not just of Troy 5, but of USC. Filipinos from up and down the coast, united in the same spirit that unites all of us here tonight. This is a prime recruitment opportunity, as it is towards the beginning of the year, we put one of our best foot forwards, showing new members how fun we are and we interact with other schools. I plan on coming out swinging and having practices as soon as possible. I will try to hold a fundraiser to supplement the cost of attendance, transportation, and food, and possibly driving down and staying in Fullerton the night before, so we're not up at 5 a.m. and the next day at 10 p.m. The entire experience of the games is an unparalleled bonding moment for new members. A goal of mine is to continue to develop our unique culture. Stagnation is a slow death. Keep moving, keep growing. Let's keep moving. As I was looking at the social chair, health care. I'll continue guiding and advising the social chairs to I was, as the dynamic between EVP and socials being head of the committee is pivotal for the success, especially in the beginning of the year with events and activities. My priority is to step first that internal foundation that externalize, grow our presence here at USC and beyond. Loud, integrity and rigor. So, only heart. I'm part of USG, which gives me a network of other clubs and RSOs to collaborate and forge those spaces for philanthropy, advocacy, and socials. As EVP, I can help build bridges for our organization to others and force those spaces for conversation and service to happen. I recognize everyone, especially me, has their expertise and their weaknesses. So through my capacity as EVP, I will be kind of like a connector to put them in touch with the right people in our organization, working with advocacy, working with programming, working with IAP, working all the different people, e-board, interns, leadership, putting the right people with the correct people. That's my role as EVP. Two, I intend to reach out to our TP and APO, both service organizations who have overlap with, and I believe can make impact together. I've also been in talks with boards such as ISA, HKSA, TAO, ASIS, just to name a few. This puts me in a good position to represent Troy at APOSA, which is another important duty of EVP. It's paramount to maintain close relations with the greater Asian American community, and I plan on working with them to a greater capacity. And of course, other clubs in the LA area. I'm going to invite all the schools that I could to the big events. UCLA, UCI, LMU, CSUN, Cal State China Islands, Moody Nash. At Troy Bond, I was discussing with UCLA about continuing our relationship into the next year, already penciling in some ideas and potential plans. I went on an externalization trip earlier this semester and attended one of UCI's, to my knowledge, we haven't really worked with yet, biggest GMs to plant those seeds. I can go on and on about the work I've already started putting into next year without even thinking if I was to be EVP or not, because I thought we were ready. We were ready to expand to new horizons and for others to get a glimpse of what makes us shine like the sun in our flag. And lastly, if you haven't heard yet from my speech, the sort of platform, well, the values I'm holding dear to my heart are community, visibility, progress, and transparency. Given that, I am considering applying to a spring semester in Washington, DC through Price. It's the first time this program has ever been run. It's not even finalized yet, and they can't even give us a solid answer until the latter half of next semester. And if you're just as confused as I am with it, reach out to me after this, we can talk about it, and I'll let you know what I know, what they've told us about it so far. It is uber competitive, and it's very much not guaranteed, unlike other study abroad programs. Hence, I'm still striving to be part of this community's leadership. What if I get into the program? I guarantee you, I am not abandoning my community. I've discussed with Kaden to a great extent to what capacity I can fulfill my EVP duties on the other side of the country. And we are confident in my ability to do so. Or an alternative. Regardless, I am dogged in my mission to serve regardless of the obstacles. Troy 5 means everything to me. It's my dad's birthday today. I'm here with you guys tonight, with my community. I got involved in Troy 5 my first semester with the leadership program under the tutelage of our current president, Scott, to stay connected to that Filipino culture after living in the Philippines for 13 years. I knew from day one that I didn't want to be an active member, but a contributing member. I wanted to help grow and expand our club where I could. And if I were to not run based on what if we were to live life based on what ifs, nothing would get done. No one can look into the seeds of time and tell which will grow. I'm here to grow our community. All I see as a kailangan mo kultura. Saan sa kultura, sa kinabukasan para sa komunidad. Thank you. I'm here. Count on me for culture, for the future, for the community. Like that.
So you did mention studying abroad and potentially doing that at LA. So can you go more into how people serve as this semester in the event that you do it?
For one, so yeah, I've really thought about this. It's a 3-hour difference, and I've already kind of based on what they've told us, it's totally feasible based on doing that and how committed I am to still serving at it. And honestly, you don't need to be in order to make meaningful connections with people. As I said, my role as EVP is to be the bridge between any externals, any other clubs, any other people who want to get involved outside of organization, being that tether, that connecting. You don't need to always have a face-to-face conversation. Sometimes, you know, a Zoom, a text. A lot of the times, the people who I've reached out with to collaborate with other events, and I talked to Kaden how he's gone about collaborating with other people and texting. So I'm very confident in my capacity to still serve as an efficient, effective, committed external vice president outside of being in LA. I know that so just a lot of time. You might have different questions, so hit me up. My ad Z.1 number 747-266-547. Let's have a diet coconut, have a conversation, get more questions. Thank you.
Hello, Church Elite. My name is Abby Pingle, and first of all, I want to thank all of you for nominating me as External Vice President for the next school year. As many of you know, I've been with this organization since the very beginning of my US career. I've made many friends, cherished many memories, and learned how a cultural organization should be run and how its people are an integral part of its productivity. Throughout my years here at Troy 5, I realized that Troy 5 can still improve in connecting with outside organizations, whether on or off campus. I, as EVP, will ensure that Troy 5 remains receptive to these entities. In terms of on-campus assemblies, I will strive to be an optimal representative for APASA by regularly attending meetings, reporting back to board, and collaborating with APASA-affiliated organizations. Maintaining this connection is essential since APASA is a major sponsor for many of our large events, including PACN. I also primarily want to focus on establishing connections with off-campus organizations. I understand that it may be an unfamiliar experience for many of us, but I believe that I have the expertise to spearhead this initiative. In addition to being a Troy 5 member, I am a cultural director for the Southern California Believing Ex-American Student Alliance, or SEPASA, and we are an alliance that aims to connect collegiate Latinx organizations like our Troy 5, among 19 others as of fall 2023. Throughout my time at SEPASA, my position forced me to exit my comfort zone and externalize with organizations not affiliated at all with Troy 5. In fact, one event that I spearheaded along with my co-director at SEPASA is the PACN Mixer, an event that aimed to educate fellow Believing Ex-Americans about proper representation in PACNs This event required that I organize contacts with 20 Phil Am organizations across Southern California, all the way down to San Diego. Through SC PASA, when time allowed, I also attended general meetings from, for example, LMU and UCLA in order to create more interpersonal connections and be a face for Troy Vibe. I've learned a lot from SC PASA over the past year on how to properly and effectively communicate with organizations despite no primary connection. With these experiences in mind, I have plans that I can realistically start implementing within Troy Vibe the next school year. A primary goal is to encourage members to externalize outside of Troy Vibe. I will achieve this by utilizing a slide during every GM to showcase any external events happening within the week until the next GM. The slide can also have a Google form that allows members to sign up for an event. Also, since I have my car down here, I'll be able to drive this there and back. I also want to emphasize our early participation in friendship games, not only because it is a new requirement for future EVPs here at Troy Vibe, but also because it is arguably one of the largest externalized events that happens only once a year. For example, I believe announcing friendship game practices during the first general meeting and possibly hosting weekend practices early on will be excellent for new member retention and curiosity. I've realized throughout my time at SC PASA this sense of urgency and community surrounding FG, and I'm keen on establishing that type of spirit early on within our general members. Speaking of general members, as stated in the Constitution, one of the primary goals of EVP is to facilitate general meetings. I believe that first impressions will make or break a potential member. I want to be a face for Troy Vibe itself also, and that can start by simply greeting individuals at the front of the GM. Speaking from personal experience regarding my time here at Troy Vibe, a simple smile, wave, and conversation regardless of age and year can do wonders. I want to be someone a new member can recognize and immediately be comfortable. More importantly, I want to see growth in Troy Vibe's general member population. Some of you may know that Troy Vibe is reaching its 50th anniversary next year. To that, I want to make our presence known to celebrate this huge milestone for us and our cultural organization, and that starts with our general members. With all that said, I guarantee that my time as an incoming senior who will be graduating early will be used efficiently for all EVP tasks. Rest assured, I will be present with whoever is willing to step out of their comfort zone. I will be a flexible source for all general members regarding external events, and I will be an EVP who fosters an atmosphere of curiosity for student organizations outside of the school. I humbly express my gratitude to all of you again for nominating me for next year's EVP. Please feel free to ask me questions concerning my initiatives, experiences in SC PASA, and how I see Troy Vibe in the future. I'm also willing to answer questions about Summit, since it's coming up May 5th. But anyways, thank you for listening and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Abby. First question, how will you manage a foster relations outside of meetings, and also how would you develop relationships with other Filipino?
So in terms of APASA, I'm not too familiar with the structure of it, but I have heard that there is this sort of buddy system that goes on within APASA where you get to collaborate with an e-boarder and intern a few general members from other APASA affiliated organizations. So I want to take advantage of that and possibly collaborate with those APASA affiliated organizations, like socials, fundraisers, and obviously I'll try to collaborate with those respected e-board members. And in terms of other organizations, I do want to plan to going to at least if when accessible, go to the first general meetings of any Filipino organization across SoCal, whether that be UCLA, anything I mentioned before, and then try to get their contact, whether that be an Instagram or a phone number, and then hopefully, possibly a group chat or something like that, so it's easy contact for any future collaborations that I might want to have with other organizations.
How will you be able to manage your businesses for friendship meetings with USC's new able to host general meetings until other meetings?
Yeah, I heard about that. It's really sad, but I will try to plan accordingly before the year starts. It will take a lot of summer planning. I'll be here in LA, and one solution that I did come up with, it's not, I don't know how like feasible it would be, but just having practices at my place since I am off campus. Obviously I would have to run that through my housemates, but that was the one solution that I could come up with to kind of walk over that hump of like UC's new rule with a 3-week system. But yeah, the main solution would be to volunteer my own place.
Thank you. Next question, how will you incentivize general members to attend external events?
So obviously, especially if you're a general member, being in Troy Phi in general will be a bit intimidating. However, I do want to start integrating general members first and then encourage them to go to external meetings by being not only an accessible but also a comfortable source for them. And also would like to encourage fellow e-board members to be an accessible source for them because in all honesty, like when we're, at least for me, when I was a starting general member, I put e-board on such a high pedestal and I was really afraid of it. So I would want to really encourage not only the future EVP, but also other e-board members to facilitate, to foster this environment of like safety, comfort, in order for them to feel comfortable first at Troy Phi, and then hopefully they'll feel comfortable to go outside of Troy Phi, in other external events.
Yeah.
Here for I know I focused a lot of my program speech about the internal community here at Troy Phi. Now I kind of want to talk about Troy Phi's external community and how we ourselves can put ourselves out there more. Back when I was externalizing with a lot of people in the Filipino community, small businesses, and Filipino leaders, I was talking to them about how my goal as just a person is to really connect the Filipino community here in UC, the larger one outside of it. So to do this, I put my foot in the door anywhere I could. I tried to be active in one of the SEMA events, but I couldn't go, so I stayed on Zoom. Other than that, I have involvements in a lot of areas of the Filipino community. I am a youth ambassador for the National Federation for Filipino American Associations. Went to a conference in August of 2022. I was able to network with a larger network. Guys, there are people in that network, in that group of people all around the country who want to meet you and help you and mentor. I want to bring that to you guys. So please keep that in mind. But additionally, I am one of the Empowering Filipino Youth Coalition ambassadors and EPIC ambassadors, which we are being professionally developed and they're helping to develop our leadership. And they've connected us with our own mentors in order to really grow us into capable candidates to go into public service, physical therapy, any field that we so desire. Additionally, Nicole and I did a lot of marketing last summer for the Filipino American Friendship Day hosted by NAF. It was at this Friendship Day that I was really proactive, trying to get Troy Phi's name up there so we could get funds for PACN, so we can have collaborative events, so we could have a boba chicken vendor come to USC maybe during Heaven Week. That would be really cool. So I was talking to them about trying to just create a relationship first, right? I was able to get their business card. An idea popped up for me. What if Troy Phi had our own business card? I've submitted a media graphic request for this. I really want to follow up on it. I think it'll be a good idea, right? We really like pop-up events. I know a lot of pop-up events in Van Nuys, Glendale, Carson. Thinking of more, there are a lot more. But Nicole and I have been there. I've actually helped a company that sends money to the Philippines for a very cheap rate in US dollars. And the more I go to those events, the more I'm like, Troy Phi can literally come here to have fun or even to table, right? We can be like, oh, PACN donation or something, right? So I wanted to be able to bring my experience and my connections there. I know the organizer of these pop-ups. I know how we can get the booth. I know how we can get connections through there. I've sold the TP Down by Jolly Trojan stickers to them because they saw it and they wanted it. Additionally, in that Filipino community, I'm connected with one of the past speakers from 2 years ago, Mark Polito, who's a former mayor of Cerritos. I am connected with a ambassador from the Filipino consulate in downtown Los Angeles. And he actually invited me and the rest of Troy Phi to come to a event, Karaoke night, in Antonio. So if it was on the same day as our first GM this semester. So unfortunately, like not a lot of people could come, but he said he's down to invite us again. Finally, I was really trying to get this Familiar Day at the Park event off the ground, try to start a new tradition for Troy Phi in order for us to not only extend past our limits here in the UC bubble, but at least to the smaller limit of just our alumni, who can give us so much guidance and protection for these next few years to come. Here at Troy Phi, as an EVP, friendship games is so important. Friendship Games is practically, the event of the fall semester. I'm hoping to start early, start hype early, and I want to contact SC Plus as soon as possible when we can get a picnic for Friendship Games Day going. Because that honestly, is the most fun I had. I was able to play volleyball and basketball with a bunch of other boys. I was able to get a lot of them connected with Troy 5. So wanted to introduce these new events. Denise had a nice little basketball event with UCLA last semester, and I want to continue more of these. These kind of like one-on-one exchanges, whether we go to UCLA play basketball, maybe we have a nice little volleyball day or field day with CSULA, or we people to have an LMU. I do just want these connections and these exchanges with these other schools. I know leaders, past president of CSULA, Kagi, I know leaders in UCLA and their entire Mabuhay Collective and Salon Filipino. And some events, let's have an amazing sports tournament, specifically in basketball, 3-on-3 tournament. GPA jumpers did very well this season, I have to say. I think we can definitely do this. Whether we are creating an entire Filipino basketball Sunday league within SC Pasa. We have GPA jumpers going against UCLA. That's like the match of the year, right? Yeah, us against Kalaki, we have them going against each other. I think that'd be a great thing to bring everyone together. Other than that, leaders in C Casa, K Casa, VSA, and Tau. And speaking of Tau, we had a big ass party. Yeah, big ass social. Like, we had a big social media, we could exchange with them at night. A lot of people came, a lot of money was made, and I think we can capitalize on that connection again. And additionally, I know a few houses that we can host these at in case we're looking for new places to go to. So a fundraiser would make us a lot of money. And finally, for my fundraising, new idea, TP yard sale. You guys have clothes that you don't wear anymore? Anyone? Just me. Okay, thank you. So you guys do bring them after fall break, bring them, we could sell them and make our own profit from our own homes. So I want to thank you guys so much. Please consider me for IVP. I appreciate you all.
How do you envision Troy Pi's relationship to other schools, Filipino clubs, and their relationship with APASA?
I envision with other schools. I envision a nice little constant communication with them. Whether it be like a nice little group chat between these leaders, always exchanging information like, hey, when are your PCNs? When's your next event? What's your GM? When can we come over? Are there any GMs you guys want us at? Because we'll definitely put that in our schedule if we know ahead of the game. Sorry, hey everyone. And I'm here once again talking to Mike at a general meeting. But this time I'm writing this on my specific. Obviously, my Troy Fight journey started off with hockey. Although to HTM by myself, eager to find some Filipinos at this very white school. Despite not really finding my people at first, what I found instead was Filipino experience to this full extent. That is gameplay eventually became my new home. The person I am today. These past 2 years on board, have me trying to give back to the community what is given to me. My humble goal as your potential next will be to strengthen the sense of that brought me to where I am today. The current primary responsibility of the external vice president is coordinating Troy Fi's development and friendship games. The scars and bruises I got from having produced Troy Fi's first in-person BACM since the pandemic began and during my sophomore year has made me welcome to this role. When scheduling the first lockdown weekend, I kept practices efficient by minimizing overlaps between groups that shared performers. So it always felt like our time was well spent, and I intend to bring the same intentionality to friendship games practices. Also, the work I've done in recreating a base committee last year has been very important for the close collaboration, social chairs, and interns required. With their help, I'm sure not only that the hard work will get done, but that will create a hype environment that motivates members to embrace the spirit of stuff. After all, the true reason we do these events is the people we connect with and the community we build along the way. However, my work this year as advocacy chair has taught me that AVP is more than the friendship games coordinator. Last semester, I joined one of the first Filipino mass demonstrations that lit some fire within me I didn't even know I had. It's further inspired me to entrench myself into the Filipino community and the Filipino struggle. But to be honest, what really inspired me was the food right after. Some random meetups, I met some of the realest people from SC Plaza, UCLA, and Fullerton, which felt so refreshing coming from UC. Since then, building community with these other schools, attending math actions and events, and attending external voices meetings have been my bread and butter. My interactions with other schools exposed me to amazing programs such as UCLA's SP Random Research Class, CSUN's Students' People's Power School, supplementing the lack of cultural education at SCV. I'd like to thank Kaden already for the work he's done to break Joyfy out of the USC bubble, but I'd like to further push the position to become a connection to the knowledge, experience, and people of the SoCal. Through my conversations with externals, I've also learned that the very click culture has affected me, and many of our members say it's the same culture that disconnects us from the externals. They found that no one really speaks to them at our events. Because this issue has affected our org internally and externally, I would work closely with the next internal vice president to create a welcoming environment for students, promote member recruitment and retention. Through proper externalizing training during our board retreats, creating a local team focused on breaking down click culture while also balancing each board member's social capacity, I believe I can help reconnect Joyfy to the external community. To jumpstart this process, and also at the request of some UCLA externals, I will grind to bring back Joyfy's Baja Islands. An annual game show that's been difficult to hold due to our packed program schedule in recent years. I understand the strength of Joyfy's social share to EVP Pipeline and the preference for a higher energy and enthusiastic person taking up friendship and coordination. I believe it's time for Joyfy to forge a new path. My experiences as a newbie organizer and my work in Historic Filipino Town, it taught me so much and helped me find my place as a Filipino American. And as a also aligned itself in word advocacy, I believe connecting Joyfy with that community and the broader Filipino collegiate community will further explore identity and culture as well. Yeah. Some more ideas I have for this position, so feel free to ask me during my Q&A. For my last words, I'll just say I would love to serve you up as your next EVP if you would like to be. So I'm mahal, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. First question, how are you planning on expanding the role of EVP and how will you balance the programming of APOS and SEPOS leadership?
Yeah, so unfortunately, next year we've already done so much work connecting with other APOS orgs over the past 2 years, and I do want to continue that. But I will also want to put it a little bit on the back burner because our external connection with other schools and outside of USC have been kind of lacking in recent years. And so I want to give priority to that. Some examples are like joint hi-fi tours. When we did the hi-fi doing Dave's meetings, we went to the mural, and after learning so much Filipino history, it was so nice seeing it all laid out in the middle. Well, yeah, in the middle of LA. So I just want to connect the Filipino community across schools in that sense. Also, I'll try to also maintain some of the events that we've had over the past few years for the APOS sports.
Thank you. What do you think the EVP's efforts should be primarily focused on throughout the year?
I think the primary focus of the EVP should honestly, French Games is a big event, I will say. But I do think, especially in 25, we need to shift our perspective to externalize what other works. One of the things I want to promise if I get elected is to go to 2 external events per month. It seems hefty, but I feel like honestly, it's a pretty good doable task, especially since UCLA is right there. We have many events throughout this year, and I just really want to get into that way.
Thank you. How can you address any weaknesses you have in this position?
With the limited time I have, want to address the situation that happened last semester with it. I have made some mistakes and have hurt some of my friendships through that process, but that really helped me learn a lot through that process.
a lot of good things also came from that process as well. I feel like it was a good way for us to realize that board members should represent the general members and their beliefs. Unfortunately, because there was conflicting beliefs in Troy Vibe, we are unable to do that to its full extent, but with the creation of FIVE, I feel like that would help ease the tension in future years. But it's also taught me lessons in meeting people where they're at. Hope my work in the past semester has helped for that, and I hope I've helped heal some of the tension in Troy Vibe, which Troy Vibe to come together as a community.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicole Concepcion, and I'm extremely grateful and humbled to be nominated as your 2024-2025 president for Troy Vibe. For those of you who do know me, which is probably all of you, I hope that my care, passion, and dedication for the organization has been evident throughout my time at USC. I know that my varied experiences serving this board and my care for the organization as a whole will make me an effective leader and a strong figurehead for Troy Vibe. I remember joining Troy Vibe my freshman year, fall 2021, which was 6 semesters ago. While looking for a good community of people that would celebrate our identity that meant so much to me. At that first meeting, I remember being amazed at how many Filipinos could be in a room, this exact room. This is when I knew I had to get as involved as I could. That's when I applied for leadership, and the rest is history. Over the years, I've interned for what was once community and culture, CN director, also for outreach director. During that time, I'm to say that I've been able to get involved with truly every aspect of Troy Vibe. Now, many people can say that they've attended nearly every event on the Troy Vibe calendar, or closely with every single position. That's advocacy, creating the bingo board to raise funds for the Migrant Center. That's with socials, creating the budget for every single social that you see and making it all happen logistically. Whether that's with PACN, not only working as a fundraising director, but also working as a PACN coordinator, and also being in PACN. I've done a lot for Troy Vibe. I have seen this organization go through so much throughout my time here. I truly believe, given my experience, I can help it reach its full potential. But Nicole, why are you like this? Why do you spend so much time in Troy Vibe? It's just a Filipino org on the college campus. Like, why is this so important? Well, I feel like I'm in leadership again, so I'm about to tell you my why. I think Troy Vibe can be a huge responsibility sometimes, and it's not been the easiest thing to love. Trust me, if you let me be vulnerable for a moment, I'll briefly share to you that I have one time felt so alone and left out at a TP event that I couldn't stop myself from just stepping away and crying. I'm sure not many of you would have noticed, but that's okay. I'm not here to like give a pity vote or anything. And it's something that you probably wouldn't have noticed given who I am as a person. But it gave me a chance to reflect on why I do so much. In the end, I reasoned that I do so much exactly because of that moment. Because I know that other people feel the same way. Because of this, I strive to create a genuine space where people are able to feel included and involved. When I go to a Troy Vibe event, when I look around at all of you, I see people who I know that I can say hi to. I recognize a lot of faces. I know I could create a good conversation with you if I just saw you randomly on the street. This is the kind of culture that I want to bring to this organization and the type of president that I want to be. I know I'm not perfect and I won't single-handedly solve the culture or anything like that, but I will try my best to ensure that everyone in this organization has a home here, even if I personally have to be their only source for that. My goals and ideas for the presidency are, and how I want this organization to reach its fullest potential. This will involve challenging tradition, increasing intention in all of our programming. This means we avoid holding events just because we've had it. Really trying to be programming that benefits all of our community. One of my most ambitious changes will be to reduce the amount of general meetings. I believe this will lead to more engaging and intentional programming and reduce burnout with e-boarders. However, this is not to say that I want to reduce the program with Troy Vibe House, because it's clear that a lot of members want to do a lot of things. Something that I want to bring down to my freshman year is to have an open calendar to invite e-boarder interns to plan to go on TP Goes or TP Does. My freshman year, one of my most memorable moments of feeling a community in Troy Vibe was going to a TP Goes to watch a movie at what once was TP House. Only a few people were invited to that, I guess. Everyone's invited, but only a few people were able to go to that. But it was a simple way to create programming that people were interested in. And allowed those certain e-boarders to create programming outside of their specific role. To further reduce burnout and maintain a close-knit relationship with the board, I want to continue the practice of sharing burnout form with e-board interns, as well as individually reach out to all members of the e-board as I know events are coming up, or if something I know needs to be planned, such as banquet, PACN, or friendship games, just so I can form a close relationship with them. I feel like having a close-knit board is important to me, as I feel like the state of the board is a reflection on the state of the organization as a whole. I believe that the board needs to perpetuate the culture that we want to see in the whole organization. I also want to extend my appreciation and recognition for our intern board. Interested in the idea of having specific intern positions. This means rather than being a general DC intern, you could be a Tagalog table intern or a culture corner intern, just to give more people an opportunity to display their leadership, to actively grow, and allow them to truly grow as a leader. The idea that, as I was talking to our advisor Alex about, he expressed an idea that I would love to make come to life, which is an ongoing long-term Troy 5 fund that will raise funds for an office, study lounge, or room to be built on campus for Filipino students in a future decade. I would really love to leave a legacy behind of this scale, and I feel like it's totally possible given my this inspired me for a more short-term idea, which is to create a scholarship fund for Filipino students on campus, not just for people in Troy 5, but anyone who is willing to apply, and so everyone can benefit from our organization. I want to mention really quickly that next year is a huge year for Troy 5. It's our 50th anniversary. To have the opportunity to possibly be your president for that year. I really make a presentation, and I really want to work with every single e-boarder to make sure that it's the best year that it can be. I would really love to see a big alumni event with people throughout the 50 years of this organization come together to celebrate. If my passion, dedication, and care for this organization does not come through this speech, I hope that the hours spent with this organization over the years really display my dedication. Genuinely be honored to serve as your next president. I promise to serve Troy Philippines for the love for the culture.
We don't have time for the question.
Oh, no.